Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into some absolutely brilliant insights from management legend Tom Peters. We're going to look at how seemingly trivial, everyday details are actually the strategic foundation of monumental success. So, if you've ever felt like you're sweating the small stuff a little too much, you're about to discover why that is exactly what you should be doing. We're using his massive, game-changing book, The Little Big Things, as our guide today. Now, this thing is packed with a whopping 163 ways to pursue excellence. And look, I know reading 163 separate tips sounds a little overwhelming, right? So we've done the heavy lifting for you to extract the absolute most actionable, game-changing ideas and put them right in front of you. To make this totally manageable, we've organized all that beautiful chaos into 4 easy-to-follow pillars: the core paradox, the customer experience, the power of empathy, and a bias for action. All right, let's jump right into Pillar 1, the core paradox. So there's this really fascinating contrast in the business world. You've got your strategy gurus and MBAs who just absolutely obsess over the hard stuff. We're talking the rigid numbers, the financial analysis, the market projections. And they usually treat the soft stuff, things like your people, deep listening, core values, or even just basic cleanliness, as sort of a secondary nice-to-have bonus. Well, Peters completely flips that on its head. He argues that this so-called soft stuff is actually your bedrock. It's the hardcore reality that literally dictates whether your organization thrives or completely fails. Because honestly, you can have most brilliant financial models on earth, but if you don't master the people and the values, the whole strategy is eventually going to crumble. He illustrates this perfectly with a concept he calls the Philadelphia flavor stuff. He tells this incredibly grounding story about the drafting of the U.S. Constitution back in the summer of 1787. Obviously, a monumental, world-changing event. But guess what? It was deeply shaped by a totally mundane little detail: the miserable, sweltering heat of a hopelessly stuffy, closed-window room in Philadelphia. Think about that for a second. That one tiny environmental factor shortened tempers, forced compromises, and literally shaped a foundational document of the world. It really proves that the little things actually are the big things. Moving on to Pillar 2, the customer experience. How does all this apply to the external market and the actual people buying your products? Well, let's look at a tiny spot called the Wagon Wheel Country Drive-In up in Massachusetts. Peters points out that their restroom isn't just clean, it is practically sparkling, and it's covered in decades of local family photos. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth does a bathroom matter so much? It matters because a pristine, thoughtfully curated restroom sends a massive signal to the customer. It screams, we care so much we can taste it. And if a business cares that much about the bathroom, you inherently trust them with your food, your time, and your hard-earned money. It's a seemingly trivial detail that becomes the absolute bedrock of customer trust. Now, let's zoom out to the macro level and talk about womenomics. Get this, women buy over 80% of consumer goods. Over 80%. Yet bizarrely enough, this monstrous market opportunity is frequently ignored or drastically underserved when it comes to product development and marketing. It's crazy. Companies will blow millions desperately searching for some tiny new niche, while completely ignoring the 80% elephant sitting right there in the room. Which brings us to a brilliant concept from former PepsiCo CEO Steve Reinemund called the squint test. If you grab your annual report and literally squint at the pictures of your executive board, do their demographics actually match that massive market you're trying to serve? If women are buying 80% of your stuff, but your leadership is 100% male, you're totally failing the squint test. And let's be clear, this isn't just about PR or optics. It's a massive strategic misalignment that is leaving money and real connection right there on the table. So whether you're running a small local shop or a giant multinational, your goal shouldn't just be incrementally beating the competition. I love this quote from Jerry Garcia. You don't want to be merely the best of the best. You want to be the only ones who do what you do. Peters calls this being gasp-worthy. If you stack up hundreds of these perfectly executed little big things, you become utterly unique. You don't just compete anymore. You become a category of one. But hey, while we're talking about market dominance, we also need to step back and define what success actually looks like on a human level. There's this fantastic story about authors Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller at a billionaire hedge fund manager's party. Vonnegut points out that their host made more money in a single day than Heller's wildly popular novel, Catch-22, earned in its entire lifetime. Heller's response is just brilliant. He says, yes, but I have something he will never have: enough. It's a great reminder that true excellence isn't always about endless, ruthless financial expansion. Sometimes it's about understanding when your offering, your customer relationships, and your own life are remarkably, sufficiently rich. That brings us to pillar 3, the power of empathy. Let's turn our attention inward, to the people we work with every single day.
Think about the number 100 for a second. When it comes to empathy and collaboration, physical proximity really matters. Data actually shows that people whose offices are more than 100 feet apart might as well be 100 miles apart when you look at the frequency of their direct communication. If you want a multidisciplinary team to solve complex problems, you have to engineer the little detail of where they physically sit. You put them in the exact same room, cheek by jowl, and you'll watch those communication barriers just completely fall apart.
And when they do communicate, the tone is everything. This insight from Henry Clay is a great reminder that taking the time for the tiniest courtesies, like giving a highly specific, warm, and sincere thank you, is actually a massive strategic tool. Showing genuine appreciation isn't just about being nice. It's about acknowledging the deep humanity of your team. It's a professional discipline that yields staggering, undeniable results in engagement and overall effectiveness. This idea naturally extends to how we view each other's hidden lives. Keep this philosophy from Plato in mind. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle. Every single coworker, every customer you interact with is dealing with personal struggles. It might be a sick parent, a troubled kid, or major financial stress. And those struggles are, frankly, about 98% hidden from your view. People love to say that a boss's job is not to be a shrink. Well, Peters argues that is absolute baloney. If you genuinely care about getting things done, then understanding and empathizing with the complex human beings doing the work is exactly your job. And this applies even in the most intense, high-pressure environments you can imagine. You might think empathy is just for soft industries, right? But look at legendary football coach Vince Lombardi. This is a famously tough guy in a brutal, unforgiving profession. Yet he said, "You do not need to like your players, but you must love them." True leadership, the kind that extracts absolute excellence under extreme pressure, demands an unassailable foundation of deep respect and, love for the people you are leading. All right, final section. Pillar 4, a bias for action. How do we actually implement all these little big things on a daily basis? The ultimate mandate here from Tom Peters is actually incredibly simple. Step 1, try it. Step 2, screw it up. Step 3, learn from the mess. And step 4, repeat with unabashed fanaticism. You absolutely have to develop a radical, relentless bias for action. And the key here is step 2. Screwing up isn't a failure of the system. Screwing up is success corollary number 1. It's just the necessary, totally inevitable cost of learning fast. So, why does this try-it mentality consistently beat out careful, slow, methodical planning? Because, as Peters noted after decades of research, the person or company that simply tries the most stuff wins. Rapid iteration completely shatters analysis paralysis. It turns every single day into a lively testing ground for those little big things we've been talking about. Waiting for the perfect strategy is a total trap. Constant, everyday experimentation is so much more strategic than flawless, endlessly delayed planning. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, really vital question to think about. What little thing will you change today to pursue excellence? Are you going to finally update that recorded voicemail message? Or maybe walk 100 feet down the hall to give someone a sincere thank you? Excellence isn't some distant peak you summit one day. It's the accumulation of hundreds of tiny, immediate actions. So what little big thing are you going to change today?